Hi, Mike from the Rural Montana family. Had to wait a few hours today before filming this video. It's a little cold in the Big Sky studio. It was actually 1 degree Fahrenheit this morning. That is about minus 17 Celsius. It warmed up. It's now about 15 degrees. Still Fahrenheit, so that's about minus 10 degrees Celsius. But plenty warm for a guy from Montana to film this video. So anyway, today we are comparing these two cars. What are you saying? Why couldn't I compare those two cars? They're both blue. They're both dirty. They both have a windshield. They both have two outside rear view mirrors. They both have 4 tires. Well, why not comparing it? All right, I agree. They're probably not really in the same class of cars, but they're both electric cars. They both have about the same range, EPA rated range. The Bolt is 259 miles EPA rated range. The S is 260 miles EPA rated range. So same range. What else is comparable? Well, they're both about the same price right now. So depending on what you look at. So this is a 2013 Model S 85. And you can find the used one anywhere from about $25,000 to $35,000. You might even be able to find a 2014 or 2015 Model S in that price range. You may even be able to get a dual motor version of it. This here is the rear wheel drive. So that price range is about what this is in. This here is the 2020 Bolt, and it is used, and it is currently in the $25,000 to $30,000 range used. And so you could find a 21 or even a 22, maybe a brand new one, somewhere between $25,000 and probably $35,000 or $40,000 right now. So the price is basically the same, the range is basically the same. So that's why I'm comparing those two. Because if somebody has a budget of, anywhere from $25,000 to, let's say, $35,000 or $40,000, these are two cars that are in the budget. But yes, they're completely different cars. But the same money, the same range, so that's why we need to compare them. What are the differences between those two cars? Well, this car is much larger in size. It's longer and it's wider. With that, it has more passenger room inside, it has more trunk space, and it has a frunk. While the Chevy Bolt is quite a bit shorter and narrower, there's less room. Less room for the passengers, less room in the trunk, and no frunk at all. So a lot less storage. So this car is great for traveling. We actually went on a trip to Seaside, Oregon with 4 adults and a 13-year-old kid with luggage for a week. No problem. Everybody was comfortable, enough room in here. On top of that, these older Teslas get free supercharging. So for traveling, that is really cool because you don't pay for fuel. A big advantage when you're traveling. Now with the Bolt, on the other hand, well, there's 2 of us going in there real easy for camping. We did a camping trip to Yellowstone. My daughter and I, we were in there with the camping gear for about a week. That worked fine. That is great. Well, no free charging, obviously, but still, it worked for 2 people with luggage for a week trip just fine. But if you need more space, this is the way to go. If you need less space, this is the way to go. The Bolt is a great city car. I've been using this for driving Uber and Lyft here in Missoula, And it just fits anywhere and everywhere. It goes into any parking spot. It's easy to go through narrow streets. It's easy to maneuver around. It's a great car in the city. Perfect. Also, it can get extremely high range in the city. This car in the summertime here in the city, driving Uber or Lyft, I can get 300 miles range out of this. No big deal, because we're going low speeds. This car likes lower speeds. If you're going below 60, 65 miles an hour, this car will go far. If you're going 75 or up, it doesn't go so far. This car does not like high speeds. And if you look at it, it looks kind of like a big old brick out there, kind of squarish, not so aerodynamic. And that's probably why it doesn't like the high speeds so much. But it does great at lower speeds. And you will get plenty of range out of this one at lower speeds. And even for traveling, it works. We traveled many times with this. And if you do 70, 75, you definitely can make it even today from one DC fast charger to the next. Even though there is not too many of those out there with a CCS plug currently, especially here in the Montana area and, you know, states going east, but you can travel with it. It works. Well, you can't go the 80 mile an hour speed limit in Montana necessarily. You may have to go 70, 75 to make it from one DC fast charger to the next. But it can do it. This car is a little tougher in town. Around the city, it's just much larger. It doesn't fit real easy in every parking space. And this is one of the early models. The mirrors don't fold on this one. You may be able to get a little later model where they fold, but yeah, it's a little tight in the city. But it doesn't care so much about speed like the Bolt. It does great at lower speeds, obviously, and you can get quite a lot of range out of it. But amazingly, on the interstate, when you're going fast, the car really doesn't care so much. It goes up to 75 real easy without a big ding on your range. While the Bolt struggles at 75, this one here has no problem doing 75. It's still very efficient and you still get a lot of range out of it. Once you push this to 80, 85, the range will drop. I mean, it's older too. It's got some battery degradation. It's got a little higher resistance in the battery pack. So the more power you pull out, yeah, it will have more heat losses at that point. So, but that said, this car can make a trip on the interstate at 80 miles an hour, while with this car you probably have to go 70, 75 miles an hour to get from one charger to the next. So that is an advantage of this one here. With its a little bit bigger battery pack, but it's a bigger car, heavier, but a little bit more efficient at higher speeds. It is a better traveler. Not so great in the city. In regards to range, yes, no problem. They're equal in the city. It does great too. But it just doesn't fit in a parking spot everywhere. What about charging? Everybody says Tesla has supercharger network, so you can travel anywhere and you're going to be super fast. Well, it's true. They have a huge network and it's very simple and convenient. There's no doubt about it. Much better than Electrify America's network. We always kind of struggle every time we come to an Electrify America charger, plug in and run the payment. We even have a membership with them. It just doesn't work smooth though. There's always a little issue every time. While this, the S, yeah, it always plugs in and goes. But is the supercharger network actually charging this faster than Electrify America charges this? Well, you might say Teslas definitely charge faster than anything else out there. And you're not wrong, but you're not right either. These older classic Teslas with the black nose cone, they charge pretty slow. Why? Well, Tesla had some battery issues, battery degradation issues, and some of these weird issues in the beginning, and they decided to lower the charge rate on those cars. Back when the supercharger network was at 120 max, there were even some superchargers that were lower, I believe. But so nowadays we have version 3 supercharger at 250 kilowatts. That does not help this car at all. Not at all. This car, I've never seen it go extra high. I think about 117 kilowatts is the highest I've seen this go. And that's just for a couple seconds. And then it drops. And it drops massively. You charge around 80 kilowatts on this car, even a little bit lower most of the time. So you go up high, come back down, float around 80, and then you start tapering off. And yeah, it takes a long time to charge this one. This one has an 85 kilowatt hour battery. So this is a huge battery. And if you're only going 80 kilowatts, that makes it over an hour for a completely full charge. So these are not super fast. Is this one slower or faster? Well, it's neither. It's different. Well, we got a different charge port here. Obviously, this car has the proprietary Tesla plug here in the United States. In Europe, nowadays, they have a CCS and you can get the old ones converted. And the Bolt has a CCS plug. Well, does that make it slower or faster? No. The car determines how fast you can charge, just like with this Tesla. This Tesla can go about 80 kilowatts, which, like I said, takes over an hour for a full charge because it has an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack. This car has a 66 kilowatt hour battery pack, and it can go 50 to 55 kilowatts. That's about it. It's limited. Most of the time, this car is about 49, 50 kilowatts. That's what we see usually when we come to a charger. I've seen it as high as 53, but not for very long, and then it will drop to just below 50. So that's it. At roughly 50 kilowatts on a 66 kilowatt hour battery, it takes just over an hour for a full charge. Well, that's just what I said over there, didn't I? So those two here, they have about the same time at a charger. Doesn't matter if there's a supercharger that puts out 250 kilowatts, or if I go to an Electrify America with 150 kilowatts. Doesn't even matter if I go to some other charger that only puts out 50 kilowatts. This thing will still charge just a little over an hour from empty to full. While this, at a supercharger, it will do a little over an hour too. So neither one is really faster for traveling necessarily, because time spent at the charger is about the same. So this here is the Bolt's trunk, and it goes relatively deep down in here. We got from here down, we got about a foot, so we can fit quite a lot of stuff in there. You could actually fit 2 full-size suitcases and the carry-on in the back here, but you will have to remove this cover here in order to do so. And then you can still leave the back seats up. So it's not too bad at all. This here is the Model S trunk. It is quite a bit bigger. So we can flip the cover up here, and then you can see it goes quite a ways forward there. And we got this here. We got room under here. So there's a lot of room under there. There's room over in this pocket. And depending on the model, if you don't have a subwoofer, there is room over there. So this is huge. So here you can easily fit 4 suitcases in and another carry-on down below. and then there's still some room left in the side pockets and down below. Now this is the frunk. Oh, there is no frunk. This is under the hood of the Bolt, and here you just get to see almost the usual, like you open a nice car hood. Not much different to look at, a lot of stuff under there, but no storage space. So that is kind of disadvantage here. Over here on the Model S though, you got a huge frunk. I mean, you can fit another 2 carry-ons in here real easy, maybe even 3. And this here's the rear wheel drive. So it's got this cubby here going way back there. There's lots of room under there. If you would get a little bit later model with a dual motor, you wouldn't get that cubby. And actually the frunk would be a little bit shorter. It will probably go only to about here. So you would lose another like 4 inches or so. But huge amount of storage in this car. But now you might say, well, the Tesla has autopilot. No, I'm sorry, it does not. This is a classic. It doesn't have any autopilot or any of those functions at all. This is a driver's car, what they usually call it. And it doesn't even have adaptive cruise control. Neither does the Bolt, which is kind of weird. It easily could have adaptive cruise control because all the components needed for it are actually in the car. But it doesn't. So they're about the same in regards to safety. But the Bolt is a little more advanced. It's got a few safety features that the S does not have. The Bolt has these on the outside rear view mirrors. This is a blind spot warning, and this will illuminate bright orange if there is anything in your blind spot. And this will do it if the turn signal is on or not. It will alert you to a vehicle in your blind spot. The Tesla does not have this. The Bolt also has lane assist, and it shows up on the dashboard as a little car with lines on each side, and it will help with steering slightly. It's not like it will actually steer for you, but it will try to keep you in the lane somewhat. And if you are in the lane correctly, the lane assist will be green. And if you're drifting off, the lane assist will turn orange to warn you that you are drifting out of the lane. The Bolt's touchscreen is a little smaller, but it does have a touchscreen and it offers quite a few features. It doesn't have the nice Tesla navigation, so you would have to probably use your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Also, the Bolt overall has many more buttons. There's a bunch of them on the steering wheel. We got them over there. We got them over here. There's just much more of those buttons there, but that is personal preference anyway. The S has its big touchscreen that it's well known for, but in these older ones, no, there's no games, there's no YouTube, none of that. This is too old. It can be upgraded for an additional $1,500, and if you get really lucky, you can find a used one and somebody already done the upgrade. Then you have the games and everything. But other than that, you get a big screen where all the functions are, including the navigation, all your settings, driver profiles, and so on. So it has some advantages because the Bolt doesn't offer any driver profiles. Why not? Well, it doesn't even have power seats in the Bolt, so you need a power seat and power adjust steering wheel in order to adjust these driver profiles automatically. It doesn't have any buttons. The buttons are part of the touchscreen, which means they are on the screen. So they could be changed at any time via software update by Tesla. So it looks different and has a more modern look to it as time goes on. And this has happened since 2013. This looked completely different back when. And this Model S, like all the Model S actually, they do have a dash cluster in front of the steering wheel, not like the Model 3 or the Model Y nowadays where you don't have that anymore. Other than that, there is a few buttons on the steering wheel, and then also you have your windows and mirrors over here, while the mirror adjustment now in the newer Teslas has disappeared from over here and is also on the touchscreen. But it doesn't offer much else. It has a cruise control right there, and down below here, that is actually your turn signal, which is kind of weird because we're used to having the turn signal up here. So if you get one of those cars, you might actually hit the cruise control while you're trying to set the turn signal in the beginning. And it's kind of funny when that happens, but you get used to it. There's plenty of room here for the passenger and driver. These seats are about in the setting that we always have them at. I mean, the driver's seat is in my driver's setting, and for my size, I'm relatively far back, but there's plenty of room here, plenty of leg room, so no problem at all. And the big thing is probably here in the back. You can see we got lots of room. Very convenient for passengers to sit in the back, lots of leg room and decent seats. The center console in the Tesla is a little odd. These older ones, they actually just have like a huge tray on the bottom, and well, you can stuff whatever you want to down there. Got a couple USB outlets there. This is actually an add-on we put into the 12-volt outlet because the USB outlets do not really support fast charging on a modern cell phone. So by adding this one onto it, now we can charge fast on a modern cell phone. Up here, this really sucks because this is your armrest. So if you want an armrest, you lost your cup holders. So you get one or the other, but you can't have it all in here. The Bolt also has plenty of leg room in the front for driver and passenger. Again, about the same adjustment here as over there. Actually, the driver's seat again is in the setting for me to drive. So there's plenty of room here. It's even not too terrible on the back actually. You get quite a bit of room here. It's not too terrible, but it is not as much as the Tesla offers. This seat is a little bit shorter and it has a little bit less leg room than in the Model S. The center console, on the other hand, is much better laid out than in the Model S. We still got a tray down here, but we got our cup holders up front here where they don't get covered up, where they're in a relatively good spot. We also got more storage here, and we got this here, which this is an armrest, and many people don't even know this actually slides forward. And then you gotta slide it back so you can open for more storage. There's a tray you can take out, and well, you can maybe there's more storage down in there. So this center console is superior to the one in the Model S. There are two USB plugs down there, and they support fast charging. We haven't had any issues with it. It's also the connection to the car if you want to use Android Auto. In the 21s, I believe, or 22s, it changed to Bluetooth to connect it. But in the previous models, you definitely have to plug it in. But it's in an inconvenient spot down in this hole. So if you store something in there, you may not be able to plug something in. If you're plugged in and you want to maybe put a water bottle in there, you may actually damage your plug. So that part is not so great. Both cars come with a key fob. This one is for the Bolt right here, and it's got the usual function, the unlock, the lock, and the start and the panic. So you can actually start and preheat your Bolt with the key fob here as long as you're within reach of the car, which is probably, I don't know, 50 to 100 feet, depends a little bit. But it works pretty good overall. This here is the Model S key fob, and it actually looks kind of like a car. That's what it is. And it has multiple functions here. So you can open the frunk by pressing the frunk twice. You can open the trunk by pressing the trunk twice. You can lock and unlock by pressing the roof. Also, both of the key fobs actually do unlock your car as you approach. So if that key fob is within a few feet, or actually a couple feet if that, of the car, you can unlock the car like this. The Tesla can be programmed that it will show the door handles as you approach, or just like I did now, that it don't show and you just press on it and then it will show. So that's what you can do with the Tesla. So with the Tesla, you can, as you approach, show, and you just grab the door handle and go in. With the Bolt, obviously the door handles always show, so you can't do anything there. But the car, as you approach, it does not unlock, but it senses the key fob, and you can press this button right here to unlock the car or lock the car. And if the Bolt is locked and you approach from the back to the trunk and you have your key fob with you, you can just reach under and open the trunk lid without the rest of the car unlocking. So we could go much more into detail what the differences are between this car, but that goes way beyond the length of this video. And that said, both cars can come with options. Like on this Bolt, there's 3 optional packages that were added to the base. On this here, this is more the base though, but there is like a different roof option. There's just so many different things, especially on a Tesla back when you could customize almost anything. So it is tough to compare directly. So you have to look at, can you live with what you get for the money with either one of them? You can look at all the options and maybe decide, oh, there is a certain option you want and you look out for this. Or you can just go look at whatever you find in your price range and then compare it from there. But that said, these are 2 completely different vehicles in the same price range with about the same EPA range. And that's why you can compare them. And depending on what your needs are, they're both great vehicles. They both have their advantages and disadvantages depending on the use. There are many other EVs out there in this price range, but this was just kind of a video to show you that there are options in a price range, even options that are hugely different from one to another. Should you be afraid to buy a used EV? No, not at all. Many people bought used ICE cars, high mileage. They all have their problems, no doubt about it. But here, this is about 15,000 miles, this is 200,000 miles. They both work fine. Yes, this is a little older and it has a little problem here or there, no doubt about it, just like a 200,000 mile car would have. But even though it's a Tesla, you can have most problems fixed at a regular repair shop. So either of these cars can be taken to any repair shop for as long as it's suspension, brakes, etc., basic things. But if they are EV related, then they have to go to an electric vehicle shop. It doesn't have to be the Chevy dealer, it doesn't have to be a Tesla dealer. There is more and more shops out there, independent shops that know how to work on Teslas, that know how to work on a Chevy Bolt or other EVs. So you can buy a used electric car and be certain there is somebody to work on it, and it's not going to be more expensive than having work performed on an internal combustion engine car. So this is it for this video. It's still a little chilly in the studio here. The sun has come out. It's going to be a beautiful day for sure. But for me, it's time to get back inside and, well, think about, you might want to buy an EV in your price range. Small, big, doesn't matter. Anything. EVs are great. Used, new, whatever you can afford. Make it fit in your budget. They're just fine. They're not much different than internal combustion engine cars. They're easier on your wallet in regards to repairs and maintenance, even at high mileage. So all that said, please give us a thumbs up for this video. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.